Well, hey guys, and welcome to another recent gaming video. Actually, I guess it's the first time I've completed a game in about 2 months, which was not intended. I don't know what happened in there, but I have been playing and completed Far Cry 4, I think the night before last, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this game. I have always been a fan of the Far Cry games. At least of the ones that I have played, I have really enjoyed them. I have played and completed Far Cry 3 and 4. I have played, but I don't know why I never did finish Far Cry Blood Dragon. I will have to get to that at some point. I have played Far Cry 2, but not very much of it. I had already played a bunch of Far Cry 3 when I picked up a copy of Far Cry 2, and it was different. It didn't really feel kind of the same as 3. I don't know if they modified the engine at that point. But 2 was okay, and I've also played, I think it was Far Cry Predator, which I want to say I believe is like some sort of an alternate version of Far Cry 1. I don't know, it was a super cheap download on the Xbox 360 Marketplace a couple years ago, so I got it on that. Anyway, like I said, I have loved all the Far Cry games. I can't wait at some point in the near future to play Primal, because I own that. But I'm done with Far Cry style games for a little bit. So anyway, there'll be spoiler talk on this, because I want to talk about some of my decisions and how they affected the ending, and some of the stuff that I decided to do as I was playing this game. So there will be spoilers. So I'll start by talking about the story. The story of the game has you taking on the role of a guy named Ajay Ghale, or AJ Gale is kind of his American name. He is from this country called Kyrat, which is a fictional country that is sort of like, it would be in the Himalayas. It would be close to places like India and I can't remember what they mentioned. It seemed like they mentioned a couple countries during the course of the game, but I don't recall off the top of my head now, sadly. Anyway, it's just kind of in that area of the Himalayas, like in Asia. And you are coming home to this country you haven't lived in since you were, I think it was like a really young child, and you were coming home to spread the ashes of your mother. And you travel into the country accompanied by a guy who, instead of being some sort of a guide, he is actually a member of this resistance group called the Golden Path. And the country that you come into, Kyrat, it's sort of torn apart by civil war, basically. There's rival factions. There is this guy here on the front, Pagan Min, and he is basically like the evil dictator over the country. He's killed a lot of people. His group, the Royal Army, have been responsible for the deaths of a lot of people. The story didn't necessarily grab me so much that I remember every last little part of it. But what I do remember was that Pagan Min, his biggest rival was this gentleman named Mohan Ghale, which was AJ Gale's father. And Mohan Ghale decided to have his wife sort of infiltrate Pagan Min's, like his government or whatever, so that she could see firsthand what kind of evil things that he had done and had been doing, and why he needed to be eliminated and the country needed to be freed from his tyranny. And she ended up, for whatever reason or another, I guess, falling romantically involved with Pagan Min. And I believe AJ is supposed to be Mohan and his wife's fully legitimate son, but they had a daughter afterwards that I do believe Pagan Min was actually the father of, from the illicit affair that AJ's mother had with Pagan Min. I don't remember what her name was, which is kind of sad. But so anyway, you travel into the country, and almost immediately you encounter Pagan Min, and it's kind of a weird intro because he knows who AJ is, and kind of is just like, welcome to my country, go do whatever you want. I mean, he does take him to his royal fortress or palace or whatever, and he's going to feed him, and he's going to do all this stuff, but AJ knows that shit's going down, there's bad things going on. There's a secret ending of the game where after you are seated at this dinner table with a few other people, Pagan and another guy take your tour guide / Golden Path ally down, and they're going to torture him for information, and you are told to sit there and wait, and when Pagan is done with his business, he'll be back, and he'll take you to what is called Lakshmana to allow you to spread your mother's ashes. And if you wait there for, I think it's approximately 13 minutes, he will actually return, and he will take you to Lakshmana, and you can spread your ashes, and the game will end. You can have a game over within like 20 minutes of the start of the game. I didn't do that because I wanted to actually play the game, but that's one of the endings. So anyway, if you don't sit around and wait for that, then you get to leave, escape the palace, and you are grabbed by Golden Path people, the two de facto leaders of the Golden Path, a gentleman by the name of Sabal and a lady by the name of Amita. And you discover pretty quickly that the two of them have vastly different ideas for how the Golden Path should proceed and how Karat's future should proceed. Sabal is traditional. He wants religion. He wants traditions to be respected. He wants, farming and just like your typical, the typical ways of this country and how they've been forever. Amita, on the other hand, wants progress. She wants to see her country progress and join the rest of the world, I guess. She doesn't really consider the old ways and tradition to be the right way to proceed. She wants to actually, and this is what I thought was weird, okay, I made a decision to follow Amita in this, throughout this game. At first it was really just, I like the idea that she wanted to be progressive and she wanted to take the country into the future and not plod along the way that it had been. But it didn't take very long to realize that she wanted to pretty much take over Pagan Min's spot, not necessarily run the country like a dictatorship or anything, but she wanted to continue to produce the opium that was needed to create the drugs that were already being done in their country, and that was how she wanted to do it. She thought that with the money and the resources and the production of this stuff, that she could lead her country into the future. That was weird. I don't know exactly why one guy had to be stodgy and set in his ways with old style traditions, and the other one wanted to basically be a drug warlord without killing people, like freeing the people of the country, but keeping up the manufacture and the sale of the illicit substances and drugs that they were already producing under Pagan Min. But like I said, I chose Amita, and I always did all of the missions that she wanted to be done and did things the way that she wanted, which of course would make Sabal angry, and I hardly ever dealt with Sabal since I was always going with her direction. Later on in the game, after you just basically do the gameplay of a Far Cry game is pretty similar over all of them. You're going to liberate outposts. You're going to take over bell towers so you can shut down the propaganda machine of Pagan Min. Take out the outposts to reduce the number of the Royal Army soldiers that are everywhere. Do the storyline missions to progress the storyline, as I mentioned, the Amita or Sabal who's going to lead the Golden Path, how is Karat going to progress into the future. And a lot of distractionary stuff happens as well, which I wanted to mention. It's almost ridiculous just how often you leave from an outpost and you set a waypoint on your map, and then you get 100 feet down the road or 100 yards down the road, and the outpost that you just left is under attack. Go back and help. After a while, I got so pissed off with that I just stopped doing it. It didn't give you any kind of a punishment if you didn't. You'd get chastised and say, you failed to protect the outpost. But it wouldn't dock you an XP of any kind or karma levels. Also, I have to mention how ridiculous I thought it was that I could be driving down a little road or even walking down a path, and there could be bears and tigers and rhinos and all kinds of aggressive wildlife everywhere I would go, and I'm armed to the teeth for the most part, and I can kill these things for the most part before they can kill me. In the meantime, here's Tweedledee and Tweedledum walking down this trail, just civilian people with no weapons or anything like that, walking down the same paths while there's all this chaos around them, from the wild animals that I'd seen many times kill these civilians, to the Royal Army people who maybe wouldn't necessarily just shoot civilians on sight, but they would start shooting at me, they would start shooting at the Golden Path, and here'd be these civilians out having a stroll in the middle of a country that's under constant threat of war. So it's kind of weird. I know they were trying to give the map and the world life. That's why there was always things that would pop up right in front of you and distract you from what you were trying to do. That's why there would be civilians walking around getting attacked by eagles and everything else. It's just to kind of give it life, like continuous life and a feel that it's a real world. But man, it got annoying at times from all that shit. So anyway, like I said, I enjoy this game a lot. I really enjoy the Far Cry games. I don't feel like I was as attached to the story and the characters in this one as I was in 3. I couldn't even tell you why some vapid, 20-somethings paragliding and parachuting and just doing extreme sports all over a pirate-ran country or island, as opposed to this one, why Far Cry 3 appealed to me so much. But it did. I liked the characters and the storyline a little bit better. But Far Cry 4 wasn't horrible. It just, the story and most of the characters, other than maybe, say, Pagan Min, were so bland and generic. But it's the gameplay that I enjoyed the most, the shooting, the driving, all that kind of stuff. I just really, really enjoy it. I really enjoy the Far Cry games. I enjoyed this one. I guess I neglected to mention what I did at the end of the game. At one point, once you've helped Amita, because I did the Amita path, once you help Amita so far, she will actually tell you that you need to go to Sabal and kill him, because he will not rest. With her heading the Golden Path, he will constantly be a threat. So I was like, okay, I guess I will do this. So as soon as the game gave me the option, popped him right in the head and he died. And then later on, not that much later on, when you finally get to go face Pagan Min, it's pretty anticlimactic as far as a battle or anything goes. You don't battle him. You battle your way into the fortress that lies outside of the palace, and you do go through a lot of bad guys. But once you've done that, then you can just drive right up to his palace, walk right into the door. There he is sitting there. He talks to you a little bit. And then you have a couple of choices. One, you could just shoot him immediately, which is what I did because I didn't really think about it. I figured he tells you to sit down and eat. Once again, he wants to have that dinner that you were supposed to be a part of at the beginning of the game, and you elected to leave. So he wants to sit down and have a civilized dinner with you, And then he says he'll take you to Lakshmana and let you spread your mother's ashes. Well, I figure he's fucking with me. He's not going to let me do any of that shit. Despite the fact that I've kind of seen some of the endings to this game a couple years ago, I ended up just shooting him right in the head right then and there, which blew my chance for the better endings. Because Pagan Min was gone, the Golden Path was ruling Karat, but I, personally, as AJ Gale, didn't get to spread my mom's ashes at Lakshmana because I didn't even know what Lakshmana was. Well, turns out that if I would have waited and did the dinner and let Pagan Min take me to Lakshmana and spread the ashes, I would have realized that Lakshmana was not a place, but rather your character's half-sister. And your mom wanted to have her ashes spread at the grave or the tomb or whatever of Lakshmana. So if I would have allowed that, I would have went and spread the ashes, and Pagan Min could have either gotten into a helicopter and left. You'd get a better ending there. You would still be ruling Karat, or Amida would be, and Pagan Min would be gone. Or you could also choose to kill him after you've spread the ashes. I don't know if you could just shoot him directly, but he gets into a helicopter and you have a little bit of time in which to take that helicopter down and kill him. Then he's gone for good. Those were the endings that I screwed up and didn't get to see because I just shot him straight off the bat. There might have been a tiny part of me at the end of the game that was just sort of like, I really want to be done with this now. And that's not a reflection on the game. I ended up spending, I think it was 47 hours, something like that, playing the game. So maybe some idle time in there, but I'd still say a good 42 to 45 hours. So I was ready to do something different. Anyway, that's it. I'm done rambling on here. Far Cry 4 was pretty cool. I know it's a couple years old, but if you haven't played it, if you've got a PS4 and Xbox One, check it out. I would highly recommend it. At some point, I'll reinstall this so I can play the Season Pass stuff. There's DLC content that I didn't see any hint of when I was playing it, so I don't know what I have to do to access it. But it might be fun to go back to that world at some point, and also Far Cry Primal somewhere down the road. But the next game I'm going to jump into is one of 2015's best games, according to all the hype over it, and that's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm going to be starting on that very soon. That one I may be playing for a long time, so who knows when I'll do another of these videos. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.